welcome again. Today we're going to be talking about cementum under the following outline. Introduction, patterns of the CEJ, properties and classification. CEJ simply stands for the cementum enamel junction. Now, by way of introduction, it is a thin layer of calcified tissue covering the dentin in the root. Remember that the dentin in the crown is covered by the enamel, which is transparent, right? Yeah, so in the root, the dentin is covered by the cementum. Now it is contiguous with the periodontal ligament externally and it's firmly attached to the dentin internally. So internally, the cementum is attached firmly to the dentin and links it to the periodontal ligament, which attaches the whole tooth to the alveolar bone. Now, some refer to it as the calcified portion of the periodontal ligament, some authors, and embryologically it is derived from the investing layer of the dental follicle. Now, remember that we have investing layers of the non-erupted tooth as well as your erupted tooth. So, for the non-erupted tooth, the investing layer of the dental follicle gives rise to the cementum, right? So, it is related to bone but has no lamellar appearance and has no marrow spaces like in bone. It lacks a Haversian system and has higher levels of fluoride. These higher levels of fluoride protects it or gives it some sort of higher protection or resistance against fracture, unlike in bone, right? Yeah, so the Haversian system, if you can remember from the histology of bone, we have the osteocytes in lacuna with its processes and canaliculi. Now, these lacuna surrounds or is arranged circumferentially around a blood vessel, right? Now, that arrangement is simply referred to as the Haversian system. Now, it's not like this in the case of cementum. In the case of cementum, the cementocytes found in the lacuna are arranged irregularly and not around blood vessels. And this is because the cementum is avascular and has no innervation. And the cementum deposition is irregular, right? The way it is deposited. It is irregular, giving rise to incremental lines of salt. Remember, in the dentin enamel, we have incremental lines, long period lines as well as short period lines. For the cementum, we have the incremental lines of salter. Remember, incremental lines are due to the deposition of that particular tissue, right? So look at the diagram here. We have the enamel surrounding the dentin, right? So we should have the dentin here. I didn't put the pulp. Just very simple illustration. This is the alveolar bone, like a bucket, or like say the socket to be more precise. Yeah, and then we have the dots there being the periodontal ligament relating to the cementum in red, and then finally to the dentin, right? So it covers, you can see this is the root below and the crown below. So in the root below, dentin is covered, or rather the cementum is covers the dentin, right? But in the crown above is the enamel that covers it, which is transparent. So moving on, before we go to the patterns, look at the diagram below, right? Diagram below here, you can see these long lines, right? Long lines. Those are incremental lines of salter, right? The A there stands for cementocytes in lacuna. With their processes in canaliculi, right? So that's it. Just little illustration. Now, patterns of cementum enamel junction. Now, this is your enamel here, right? This is your enamel here. This is your cementum down here, isn't it? And this is your dentin. So hence you should have some sort of, this is cervical portion, right? This should be the cervical portion. So you can see that we have three patterns: the overlapping pattern, the butt junction, and the exposed dentin. The overlapping pattern, which is 60% predominant, you can see that the cementum here overlaps the enamel above, right? So that's pattern 1. For pattern 2, the cementum just reaches the junction of the enamel. You could refer to that junction or that part of the enamel as the butt. You get, so the butt junction, right? The butt junction where they just meet together. There's no overlapping. While pattern 3, and that butt junction is 30%. Now for the pattern 3, this is pattern 2 here. For the pattern 3, you can see that there is a portion here exposed, portion of dentin exposed, because the cementum and the enamel does not meet, right? So that's the exposed dentin pattern. Now, mind you, all three may exist together in one person. Let's take a look at this diagram. This is cementum, acellular cementum. The line there represents, the arrow there represents A fibrillar cementum. B, there is a hyaline layer of Hopewell-Smith, portion of the dentin, somewhat. The C here is a granular layer of tomes, it's part of the dentin, and here is your dentin, right? So it's just a little illustration of that diagram. We're going to understand it as we proceed. Now, classification of our dentin. There are various ways of classificating the cementum. It's either it is based on cellularity, based on nature and origin of the organic matrix, or based on both 1 and 2, that's cellularity and nature and organic matrix. Now, based on cellularity, we have two. We have the cellular as well as the acellular, right? Cellular as well as the acellular. Good. Now there are variations to which these cementum could exist. It is either the cellular cementum is over the acellular cementum, which is the commonest, or the acellular is over the cellular, or it is simply alternating. Now, cellular cementum is usually found in the apical. You can see that from B there, right? From B here, right down here, that's the acellular. You see those dots just like the cells. Cellular means it contains cell. Acellular means there is no cell, right? So it is usually found in the apical region of the root and the interradicular areas. Now, structural differences are thought to be due to the rate of matrix deposition. So the reason why we have acellular and cellular is simply as a result of matrix deposition. The faster the matrix deposition, take it this way, the faster it is as the rate at which the matrix is being deposited. That means that there is higher tendency of trapping some cementous blasts, which return to cementocytes, right? So if the matrix deposition is faster, then it becomes what? Cellular cementum. But if it is slower, as I said, I'm just giving a scenario. If it is slower, you could easily assume that these cementoblasts could escape, right? So I said in the cellular cementum, the cementocytes occupy spaces called lacuna. I've said that before, with their processes extending preferentially towards the periodontal ligament, which is a major source of nutrients in canaliculi, as in bones. You get, so the major source of nutrients is the periodontal ligament, and the processes of these cementocytes occupy the canaliculi, and these guys face towards the periodontal ligament, that's externally. But unlike bone, there is, like I said before, there is no circumferential arrangement of blood vessels. That's the Havesian system. Now, it could also be classified based on nature and origin of the organic matrix. That is the nature as well as the origin. Where is this matrix coming from? Majorly the fibers. Now, it is extrinsic fiber cementum, intrinsic fiber cementum, or what mixed fiber that's containing both the extrinsic and the intrinsic. If it is extrinsic, like the name implies, extrinsic is coming from the periodontal ligament. These fibers run from the periodontal ligament towards or into the cementum. That's why some authors just simply say that the cementum is just the calcified part or portion of the periodontal ligament, right? So if these fibers come all the way from the periodontal ligament, they are the extrinsic fiber cementum, and these fibers are simply Sharpey fibers of the periodontal ligament. These fibers are oriented perpendicular to the root surface, right? So look at my diagram below here, just a small diagram. Oh, sorry, that's bad. So if we have something like this, okay, remember that the periodontal ligament is somewhere here, so that means the fibers are going towards this way, perpendicular to the root surface, you get. But for the intrinsic fibers, these fibers run parallel, right? So they are parallel. They run parallel to the root surface, you get. So look at this other side. These fibers, these are the intrinsic fibers, and the coming from the cementoblast, right? That's why it's called intrinsic. Now I could also have the mixed fiber cementum, where both intrinsic and Sharpie fibers exist. Now, if you're classifying, which is the most common way or the practical way of classifying cementum, it could be classified based on both cellularity as well as the nature and origin of the gonic matrix. We have three under this classification. We have the AEFC, the CIFC, and the cellular mixed stratified cementum. Now, the AEFC stands for the acellular extrinsic fiber cementum, which is simply your primary cementum or your acellular cementum, right? We have the cellular intrinsic fiber cementum, which is simply your cellular cementum or your secondary cementum, isn't it? Yeah, so your AEFC is normally found in cervically, in the cervical 2/3 of the root, while the CIFC, just like the cellular cementum that covers that is usually found in the apex and interradicular areas, that's why I said it is a cellular or secondary cementum. The CIFC, that is cellular intrinsic fiber cementum, is found usually at the apex too. That's the apical 1/3 of the root. Now, the cellular mixed stratified cementum, that portion of, or the apical portion of the root where we have both the AEFC and the CIFC, that cementum is referred to as the cellular mixed stratified cementum. So those are the classifications of cementum. Look at this diagram again. This is your AEFC up here, your A, your B here at this portion, right? That's where we have the altogether the mixed or the cellular mixed stratified cementum, right? But these dots, but just this cementum alone could be referred to as your CIFC, your cellular intrinsic fiber cementum. So finally, let's just take a look at the properties of our cementum. We have physical properties and chemical properties, just in case you're asked. Physical properties: it is pale yellow, it's softer than dentin, it's more permeable than dentin, yeah, but this permeability reduces with age. And for the chemical properties, it contains hydroxyapatite as a major crystal. It is mostly type 1 collagen, and it contains cementum derived attachment protein, cap, which is specific for cementum. It's not found in bone. So if you find cap in a tissue that you're trying to process, then you should be thinking of cementum. So that is all for this lecture. I hope you were able to comprehend what cementum is really all about. Thank you.